In today's gospel reading, the famous parable of the Good Samaritan, we learn what Jesus means when we are commanded to love our neighbor as ourselves. A man lies by the side of the road, robbed and beaten and bloodied, obviously seriously hurt and in need of help. One after the other, people pass by, even crossing to the other side of the street to avoid him, intentionally choosing not to see him, not to be inconvenienced by him. When the Good Samaritan saw the man, he may have had the same internal thought process as they did, some convenient excuse that he could have told himself to justify keeping his distance. But what made the Good Samaritan different was that he saw the humanity in this poor man and chose to speak with him and help him find a place where he could rest and recover. If you've ever been to a yoga class before, you might have heard the word Namaste. In my yoga classes, I explain to my students that this word, which comes from ancient Sanskrit, has no direct translation into English, but conceptually it means the divine light in me sees and honors the divine light in you. My spirit acknowledges your spirit. If that isn't Christ-like, I don't know what is. It is exactly what Jesus is telling us to do in this lesson of what it means to be a good neighbor. The Good Samaritan saw and recognized the Spirit of God in this helpless man, believing he was worthy of aid. This intention to see and honor the light in others has led me down a new path in my life in the past year, forming a new nonprofit called CF Yogi, a virtual yoga studio that teaches yoga to people with cystic fibrosis and their loved ones. Cystic fibrosis is a fatal and unforgiving genetic disease that clogs the lungs with thick mucus, destroying the respiratory system with chronic bacterial infections. It's this progressive degeneration that leads to respiratory failure and ultimately kills the victim. So when I tell you that I have CF, I don't want you to look at me and get the impression that because I am relatively healthy, modern science has now beaten CF. Regardless of recent medical advancements, CF is still a brutal disease that robs young people of their lives before they have a chance to truly live them. A microscopic bacteria that's harmless to your garden variety human with a fully functioning respiratory system can be life-threatening to someone with CF. So people with CF can't safely share the same physical space due to the threat of cross-infection, the potential to trade bacteria and create antibiotic-resistant superbugs. This means that the CF community is fragmented. These anti-infection precautions keep us from having face-to-face relationships. There is no such thing as a CF support group where people can gather in person to help and learn from each other. But in the modern world, technology is now helping to draw us together, enabling us to form online communities that make us feel a little bit less alone. Communities where people understand that even though we have cystic fibrosis is not us. I created CF Yogi together with a woman from Iowa named Myra Jaffaloni, who is mother of 2 incredible young kids with CF. In our free yoga classes, we help people with CF to proactively manage the symptoms of their disease, sharing what we've learned about using yoga for wellness of body and mind. In my daily life with CF, yoga is more than just exercise. It helps to keep my lung function stable. It improves my stamina, strengthening my body so it can hold up against the impacts of chronic lung infections. It even serves as my early warning system, so I can take action against flare-ups as I notice small changes in my body over time that might otherwise go unnoticed. It also helps to manage the mental aspects of the disease, the anxiety and depression that come with a life-threatening chronic illness. But as helpful as yoga is to people with CF, there are a lot of obstacles that keep people with CF from practicing it and making it part of their everyday life. The cost of gym or yoga studio memberships, the threat of picking up infections from shared equipment, the self-consciousness of coughing in public, I did not plan that. The sense that the class just doesn't fit your body or meet the unique needs of your disease. At CF Yogi, we're using modern technology to creatively remove those obstacles, using video conference technology to safely interact in a yoga class, share yoga practices tailored to the unique needs of CF, and simply build relationships with each other. I teach a variety of adult classes for different physical ability levels. Myra teaches kids yoga. We now have 3 other yoga teachers who all have cystic fibrosis, each sharing a practice that they find helpful, supporting the physical and emotional well-being of people with this lifelong chronic illness that often couples with persistent and recurring trauma. In our CF Yogi community, we're becoming friends not because we have CF, but because we now have a shared experience where we discovered other things that we have in common. Like my new friend James, in the very first CF Yogi class he attended, one of his favorite choral pieces came up in the Spotify playlist that I'd put together for background music. It turns out that Abendlied by Joseph Reinberger, which I'd chosen because it was one of my favorites from my time in the concert choir at Seattle Pacific University, was also one of his favorites from his chamber choir at the University of Alabama in Huntsville. We wound up geeking out over choral music after class and have been friends ever since. Another time, 2 5-year-old girls with CF who both loved the movie Frozen both decided to wear their Princess Elsa dresses to kids yoga. When they saw each other in their Elsa costumes, they had an instant bond that had nothing to do with their disease. These are moments when 2 people really see each other and say, "Aha, you get me." These 2 little girls are now growing up in a world where they have something that I never had as a kid. Friends their own age with CF who understand what they're going through. They're growing up in a world where it's normal to have these friendships and shared experiences and people who you can talk to when things get scary or don't make sense. At CF Yogi, we're seeing that people with CF are moved by this opportunity to connect on a human level and to join in this grace-filled community that sees them as complete people, not just as patients. We with CF are used to being viewed as patients, as problems to be solved. Doctors and scientists analyze our cellular flaws, pick apart our DNA, run every possible test searching for answers about the bacteria infecting our bodies and destroying our vital organs. We with CF are used to being viewed as dollars on a spreadsheet, as profit to be made or lost, as billionaire makers from the next groundbreaking medication, as budget breakers as insurance companies argue against paying for clearly medically necessary procedures, let alone those groundbreaking medications. We with CF are used to being viewed as a liability, as chronically ill or disabled people who are burdensome and not capable of living full, valuable lives. During the debate about pre-existing condition protections in the Affordable Care Act, a United States congressman publicly insisted on CNN that, quote, people who live good lives and who've done things the right way don't have pre-existing conditions. But being sick is not a moral failure or a judgment from God for an immoral life. As Jesus reminded us in today's gospel reading, the true moral failure is our failure to show mercy to our neighbors and love them as we do ourselves. Before the Good Samaritan stopped to help the man who'd been robbed and beaten, the priest and the Levite had both passed by, crossing the road to avoid this man in need of help. It is so easy for us to avert our eyes and look the other way, telling ourselves that we have some convenient excuse for our inaction. I don't have time to stop. There's nothing I can do to help. This could be a scam to take advantage of me. Or like this US congressman, shrugging and thinking, they probably deserved it. These excuses really have nothing at all to do with the person in need of help, but they have everything to do with us and our own preconceived beliefs that we project onto the other person. It's rare for cystic fibrosis to come up in the public conversation without ulterior motive or agenda behind it. Agendas that aren't actually about the person with CF at all, let alone about what really is best for them. And that's why it's so impactful for people with CF to feel that they are simply seen as people, complete with all the complexities and strengths and gifts and flaws that every other human being has. Neither villainized for their burden on the healthcare system, nor idealized for their grace in the face of adversity. Simply to be allowed to be, as they are, in all their perfectly human imperfection. And that's why CF Yogi's impact in the CF community has been so swift. For context, there are only 70,000 people worldwide with CF, and over 700 households have already signed up for CF Yogi in 6 months. I'm still stunned at how quickly our mission is resonating in the CF community. But it tells me that when you start seeing and honoring the light in other people and in yourself, there's this moment when you realize there is something you can do to help. And not only that, but if anyone in the world has the skills and the gifts it would take to truly make a difference, it's you. And it doesn't have to be something crazy like quitting your job and starting a nonprofit like I did. It's noticing the person lying by the side of the road, and instead of crossing the street to avoid them, choosing to walk close enough to speak a word of kindness, honoring the light and the word of God by choosing to give the gift of your time. In America and Western culture, we put a prize on health and financial stability as though our real work can't begin until our bodies are flawlessly healthy and our bank accounts are flush. But this idea of Namaste shows us that we don't have to wait to do our greatest work, to be like the Good Samaritan, to be like Jesus. The cure I seek for my physical CF body may be in the distant, unforeseen future, but my divine purpose, our divine purpose, already is here inside us. In every breath, right here, right now, the kingdom of God is here. The track 2 readings for today couple the story of the Good Samaritan with a passage from Deuteronomy 30:14. The word is very near to you. It is in your mouth and in your heart for you to observe. It is already in our hands right now to help our fellow neighbor, our fellow man. Namaste helps us to live out this commandment to love our neighbor as ourselves. The light in me sees the light in you. My spirit acknowledges your spirit. Namaste.